You compare to other places, Denmark, I think it's 23%, Finland, 36%, I think. Second is, after you have such a light progressive tax system, is to have the right social programs. I don't think I want to give a laundry list of all the social programs we have, but over the last 10 years, a lot was done. GST voucher cushioned the impact of GST on the lower income. And then you have many other social programs that help out with housing, with transport, with medical care, such as the PGP, Pioneer Generation Package, MediShield Life. And when workers have problems, give them training, retraining, ComCare. So a lot of help has gone into social redistribution. So as a result today, when you look at a middle income worker, he pays, for every dollar of tax that he pays, he gets back $2 of benefits. For a lower income worker, for every dollar of tax he pays, he gets back $6. And so that is the redistribution that has gone on as a result of our social programs. I should not forget education and training. It's also an important part of progress. Before you say it, I would say education is such a critical social leveler. And we must make sure we get our education system right, world-class. And today, looking at ITE, polytechnics, autonomous universities, it accounts for about 90% or more of each cohort. Over the years, the Ministry of Education, we have always monitored employment outcomes. We have always measured starting salaries. Why do we do that? Is to make sure that our higher education system continue to produce students that's relevant to the economy, that is valued by industry. So you look at starting salaries for IT students, last 5 years, has increased from 2005 to 2008. Poly students, and these are post-NS, 2000 to 2004. For universities, on average, 2007 to 2002. So all have increased, and even if you take into account inflation, take real increase, there is increases. Not a lot, but there is increases. And so we must continue to keep that going. But that is possible only if the economy continues to grow, which is my next set of measures, which is prosperity. The need for economic growth is critical. We no longer can enjoy the high single-digit growth that we used to enjoy, but we can continue to have steady, low single-digit growth. Over the years, income has also grown quite significantly. So you look at just last 10 years, 2004 to 2015, say take a real individual income after taxes and transfers. At the 20th percentile, the increase is 14.7%. Quite significant over the last 10 years. You take median, it's a bit more, 21.4%. You take households, real household increase in income over the last 10 years after taxes and transfers, the number is like 45%. For bottom 20%, and at the median, 38%. Compare those numbers in other countries, US, UK, Hong Kong, economies like Taiwan, you'll find that they are either in the negative territory or only a slight positive. So we've not done badly at all in terms of growth and allowing the masses to enjoy income growth. So the combination of progress and prosperity, it allows social mobility. So there are also studies done on this score, and Singapore too performed not too badly. Students that used to be bottom 20% household, and in their late 20s and 30s, a good proportion of them moved up to the top 20% household. The number is in fact 14.3%. Not bad at all. But of course, our economy is at the verge of needing further transformation. I think it's a bit like Walt Disney. It used to market Mickey Mouse and Donald Ducks. Today it's in Marvel superheroes and Star Wars. So the Singapore economy is likewise. We have to go through that transformation to be more attractive, more competitive. This is a big topic that the Committee of Future Economy will have to discuss over the next 1 year. But we see some of the major initiatives already coming out. Skills Future is one. The RIE 2020 is another. The Research, Innovation and Enterprise 2020, $19 billion for the next 5 years. These are all significant strategies to transform our economy, and we will discuss this. Whatever it is, I think to bear in mind, many of us in this room, barring the students, many of us have established careers. And sometimes we can afford to talk about inclusivity, redistribution, but amongst the young, the undergrads, the polygrad undergrads that I see, their biggest concern is their jobs and their career. What are the opportunities for them? And we cannot fail the young. The last category of measures is happiness. I use this to broadly describe everything is non-tangible and which the economists don't study. One important part is philanthropy and volunteerism. We can have income disparity, but people at the top volunteer to help. The people who has wealth participate in philanthropy. We can narrow the psychological disparity, and I think that's an important part of any society. The second part is social behavior. All our measures to help uplift the lower income and the vulnerable requires the collaboration, cooperation of the whole society. I just read Straits Times this morning. We are going to raise the fines for people who park in disabled lots. I think this is really sad. Why should even someone think about parking in a disabled lot? So you can set aside resources and space to help the vulnerable. When other people abuse it, our effort comes to naught. So social behavior, in fact social policing, I feel is useful. I give you another example. As a member of parliament in the community, we look at various improvements in our living environment. And sometimes we look at the need to build slopes, certain paths, so that the elderly can reach bus stops easier and go to the market easier. And often HDB will tell me you can't build that, even though it's the nearest path. Say because this is right under a HDB window, and we don't want the elderly to be harmed by killer litter. And that to me it is sad. There should be some social pressure so that there isn't such acts. And if we can do that, even for funding schemes, the more abuse there is, the less goes towards the lower income. Lastly, is our choice, ultimately. The past 10 years, the government has done what many people have described, that the government has moved to the left. But if you look at further left, there are still many policies, more left policies on the table for debate. For example, minimum wage, the national minimum wage, for example, as opposed to a sectorial minimum wage. For example, the definition of absolute poverty and how to help every Singaporeans reach a certain subsistence living income. On the extreme right, there are also policies on the table. For example, further restricting foreign immigrants, freezing it, for example, or nationalizing some of our companies and then make them contribute to national coffers. So all this range of policies are still on the table. But ultimately, we don't move left for the sake of moving left, we move right for the sake of moving right. We decide on what policies will best serve the welfare of our people and help us achieve that elusive, inclusive growth. And ultimately, such choices, I think, are moral ones, are political ones, and it requires collective decision, which is why they are often contested. Whatever we contest, ultimately, people of Singapore will decide what package, what measures, and where we stand in that whole spectrum. And whatever our choice is, we must live with it, we must be satisfied with it, and we must even be contented with it. Because with contentment, then you can have happiness. Then you can have happiness, you can have progress and prosperity for our nation. Thank you very much.